Namaste, Khusrao Betia. I JBN Varsha Singh from Jayoti VIdyapeeth Women's University. In previous session, we have discussed the difference between the NoSQL and SQL database. So now we will see the some the key points of both the databases. So the term which is used in NoSQL and SQL is index data structure. That means how indexing is done in NoSQL and SQL. So index data structure is done in both the database is with the help of B tree. So B tree is a data structure that keeps data sorted and balanced. B tree is optimized for systems that read and write large blocks of data. It is commonly used in databases and file system. Balanced tree means that the length of each branch is the same. Both Microsoft SQL Server and MongoDB use B-tree data structure for their indexes. Internal mechanism keep B-tree indexes balanced. Index pointer means indexes in MS SQL Server can point to the data pages in the heap or to the cluster index key. The cluster index leaf nodes are pointers to the data pages. The row locators or pointers in non-clustered index can point to the row in the heap or to the clustered index key, which points to the row. When row locator is a pointer to the row in the heap, it means that there is a no clustered index for the table, otherwise it could be pointer to the clustered index key. MongoDB by turn uses pointers to mapped files. The memory mapped files are stored in memory. So memory mapping assigns files to a block of virtua. The relationship between files and memory allows MongoDB to interact with the data in the file as if it were memory. Index key column field can be null. Cluster and non-cluster index in MS SQL Server can be on columns that contain null values. Depending on queries and data usage, an index on a column that has null value is more efficient than no having an index on that column. A unique index cluster or non-cluster will allow only one null. And MongoDB is a database with dynamic schema, which means that the same collection can have documents with different structure. Dynamic schema allows creating indexes for fields that are not exist in each document in the collection. When MongoDB indexes a field for documents with no value for it, the index entry for that item will be null. Cluster index natural ordering J. A clustered index is the ordering rule for data records, physical location on the disk. In other words, clustered index defines physical record location according to column field value as was chosen as key for index. Therefore, a table can have just one cluster index. When primary key is created on the table, a cluster index is created immediately. SQL Server uses a cluster index to retrieve data very quickly. The leaf nodes of the index contain data pages. And in MongoDB does not support clustered index features. Regular index are enough to support all the needs because MongoDB was constrained not to load data from disk very often, but it tightly depends on your workstation power. It uses memory mapped files in RAM. A memory mapped file is a file with the data that the operating system places in memory that maps the file to a region of virtual memory. MongoDB uses memory mapped files for managing and interacting with all data. Non-cluster index is an index in which the logical order of the index does not match the physical stored order of the rows on disk. The leaf node contains pointer to the data pages in contrast to clustered index which contains data pages itself. If clustered index is defined, then non-clustered indexes use it to point to the clustered index key value in their leaf nodes. Otherwise, they use heap and point to the physical location of the data. MS SQL Server supports non-clustered index, whereas there is no such definition in MongoDB. Instead, all its regular indexes can be treated as non-cluster. Index by default. MS SQL Server does not have predefined indexes by default. By default, a unique clustered index is created on all primary keys. MongoDB creates an index on the ID field of every collection by default, except capped collection. The ID index is a unique index and it cannot be deleted. Thank you, class. Thank you all about this session. This session is provided by Jyoti.